All right. So how we doing? All right, so this is going to be a panel discussion. We're going to talk about various aspects of social media. First thing I'd like to do is introduce our panelists who were generous enough to give us some of their time. Starting on the end, that's Brice Hammack. Brice is a publishing professional who has worked at a number of publishing organizations, both large and small. He currently works at Rutgers University Press and is the senior promotions manager. Among other things, he handles D2C marketing. Does anyone know what that is?
Direct-to-consumer marketing.
Beautiful. That's electronic and print. Adoption marketing, the website, data management, and social media. So welcome, Brice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jen Valera is the marketing manager for the Office of Summer, Winter, and Special Programs at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. In addition to managing the print, digital, and various other campaigns for current and upcoming programs offered by her department, she also oversees social media, which includes 2 Facebook pages, 2 Twitter pages, a Snapchat account, an Instagram account. You're busy. Jen joined Rutgers in 2003 after receiving her master's in organizational behavior. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Stefanie Charles, who is a social media specialist in communications office at Rutgers Camden. She manages the campus accounts at Camden on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, and coordinates campaigns and messaging with other social media users on the campus. She also manages the Camden campus messaging for the Rutgers Law School social accounts. Stefanie has a background in public relations and online communications and has worked for a PR agency and in the communications office of a nonprofit organization prior to joining Rutgers Camden. So welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you.
So once again, thank you guys for coming here. So we wanted to talk about 3 different aspects of social media account management, and we're hoping you guys could, share some of your experiences and, give us some guidance where needed. We'd like to talk about serving our social media audiences, growing those audiences, and then, if we have time, assessing the impact of your various platforms and campaigns. So just so everyone knows, this is being live streamed to 2 remote locations, so that if you do have any questions, I'm going to ask Matt to run to you with the microphone so that your question can be heard at our remote locations. So, in regards to serving social media audiences, what are some of the challenges in trying to communicate with such a varied kinds of audiences? You have faculty, you have students, you have staff, alumni, your local communities, and what are some of the strategies you've used to address that? Anyone want to just chime in?
Well, I'll start off. I think I'm a little bit different than the other panelists here in that we, at the press, we actually have customers. We sell products, and so that's very different from the rest of the university. However, we do have a lot of different constituencies in different academic disciplines, so we have to try to reach all of those people from all the different disciplines. So that's one of our challenges.
So just to reiterate, I work for the summer session office, but we also oversee the winter session, and then we have a number of special programs that come out of our office. So we have programs for teachers, we have programs for pre-college students, we have conferences, various conferences, all run out of my office. So we do see a lot of the same challenge that you guys see, where we're dealing with so many different audiences. So I think first off, it's really important to know who your audience is. And John mentioned before that we have 2 Twitter accounts, 2 Facebook accounts. It's because we do treat each audience very differently. We treat each platform very differently. And, you just really have to know your audience and vary your strategy for each audience. We actually use something called the T-shaped social media strategy. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, but basically the T is the breadth of everything that you do versus the depth of everything you do. So we started out very small over at the summer session office, where we we just focused on one platform, and then we slowly grew each platform. And the platform that we focused on changed as the times changed. So initially when we started out, Facebook was a very popular platform with our students. Now we primarily use that just for events with our college students, to promote events. And we use it for our conferences because we know that our writers are going to be on Facebook. So we just vary it. We vary our message. We have a lot of messages, a lot of different platforms, but where we choose to focus and have all of that depth depends on our audience that we're working with.
Similar to what the others have said, we just kind of, I think about what my message strategy is for each post that I'm going to make, and there are certain platforms that do better with certain audiences. So for reaching alumni, we do really well on LinkedIn and on Facebook. For current students, Twitter and Instagram are big, and obviously Snapchat is the hot network for that demographic right now. We have some overlap too. So we do reach some students on Facebook, but primarily we see more interaction from alumni and from parents interacting on Facebook. One of the things that still seems to be really popular for students is Facebook Messenger. So maybe even if they're not interacting as much on Facebook, they still use it a lot for customer service type questions. So I get a lot of tweets, but also Facebook Messenger messages about, how do I fix this problem on my bill? So it's really just kind of trying to figure out who your intended audience is and figuring out which platform works best for you, for that audience.
Are there certain strategies or experiences you had which helped you determine which platforms work best for which particular audiences you were trying to reach? So just how over time you can see what works, or did you actually have some specific strategy that you implemented and it's been successful? Or maybe, you had to tweak?
I think it's a little bit of both. I try to do as much research as I can to make sure that I'm up on, what best practices are for every certain network. But then it's a little bit of, just experimenting just to see what works. So for LinkedIn, we work really well with alumni messaging, but it's also good for recruiting prospective students through their parents. So their parents are more active on LinkedIn, so we can, put out messages about, Discover Rutgers Camden Day, or just, reminding them how great their college experience was, and then they're a little bit more inclined to bring their students, their children to recruitment events.
Okay.
For my part, I would say that we do a lot of analysis of the results of the social media we send out. So after we send something out, we look to see what kind of response we got, and we do a quarterly analysis of that and look at it to see maybe what the best strategy is for going forward, what kinds of posts people respond to best, at what times. And this might be a good time to bring up the thing about content messages versus a direct sale, which I know for the other panelists is not as important, but for us, we actually will promote books directly through social media, and we'll offer sales. But at the same time, we're trying to deliver content that's just interesting to the people that follow us. And the rule of thumb is generally 4 to 1, 4 content messages to 1 direct sale message. That's kind of a loose standard, but so mainly it's that we do follow, we watch to see how people respond to the messages we send out.
I think in general it's just important to always vary your messages, because you don't know what's going to kind of resonate with your audience and what's not. So if you're always doing a particular kind of post, then you might not be getting the response that you would hope for. And then also there's that whole technique, I guess you would call it, but you always have to have in the back of your mind, what's in it for them. I think there was a stat that I just heard recently that only 2% of your posts, this is for Facebook, only 2% of your posts are seen by your followers on Facebook. 2%. So, I feel that it's really important to deliver very relevant messages, and also, just like I mentioned earlier, to vary it, because you just don't know what is going to be relevant to your audience.
Well, along those lines, have you had any success in repeating your same messaging across your different platforms? Has that worked for you? Has it not worked for you? Is it just message dependent?
We stay away. Everybody does things differently, but on our unit, we treat each platform very differently, and the message, depending on what it is, we'll use a specific platform for it. So we run a big contest for about 8 weeks every fall and every spring semester. It's a huge Snapchat contest. And so a good example would be that, the contest is run solely on Snapchat. So we don't, we're trying to, it's a fairly new Snapchat account. So our goal was really to increase, twofold, as always, to increase our following and to get people engaged. But since it was new, we really were aiming to increase our following. So we kind of wanted to push people to Snapchat, and we didn't release information on the other platforms about this contest. We maybe did some teaser information, and then that kind of forced them to kind of go to Snapchat and follow us on Snapchat and be listening on and engaged with our Snapchat.
How'd that work out?
Pretty well, yeah. The contest was very successful. We launched it, I believe, for our winter session. Very successful. By the time summer rolled around and we did it again, we had people contacting us asking, when are you going to be doing the contest again? We incentivize it. It was a very gamified, incentivized promotion.
Mm-hmm. You, Brice, do you guys message across same message across different platforms?
Yes, we do. I'm not advocating it necessarily, but one of the things I think, too, that should be said is often there's limited resources to handle social media, at least in our office there is. So we have many things that we're working on. Social media is just one of them. We only have so much time and so many people. And we do utilize interns as much as possible. But yes, we do repeat messages through different platforms. But it's mainly for economy's sake.
I do repeat, but it really just depends on the content and the goal of the message. So obviously for Rutgers 250, we wanted to get that information out to as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. So those types of messages, they went across all the different platforms. So like our Instagram account is more like a slice of life. Here's what campus is like. Here's what our students are up to, kind of a scene that you wouldn't necessarily see, those kinds of pictures. I wouldn't want to put them on like LinkedIn, for example. But sometimes they do carry over. So sometimes something that like maybe a landmark on our campus might do really well with, recent graduates and alumni who are more active on Facebook, so I might share it there as well. It's really just, it's something that, you can do for, economy's sake, but you can also, sometimes the message does lend itself to more than one platform. And for growing Snapchat, we haven't run any contest yet, but I did a lot of just reminding people, like switch the Twitter avatar to our Snap code for a little while, just sharing it, because we do see a little bump of increase in followers every time that I do something like that on the other social networks.
Okay, thank you. Going back to the tea comment you made earlier, Jen, this is for all three of you, obviously. Do you find expanding your reach or increasing engagement more important?
Okay, so I feel like for us, it really depended on where we were. So when we were just starting out, we tried to focus on it growing our audience, right? And then as we began to obtain more followers, then we really tried to focus on engaging with our followers. So I feel like it really depends. In regard to the T-shaped social media strategy, I feel like that's more based on who our audience is. So like if we know that our audience is going to be on Snapchat, then we're going to choose to focus most of our energies on Snapchat. And that's actually what we do for our college students. We focus most of our energy on Snapchat. But we do post across all of our platforms.
Right.
Yeah.
The expanding reach?
Yeah, so for us, it's a bit of both. I mean, we're trying to reach as large an audience as we possibly can, but we also look at engagement, and so they're both important. If people are engaging, that's a really good sign, but we're also concerned about how many people are seeing it. One thing that, I don't know the level of expertise here, but people may not be aware, Facebook, well, you alluded to this, Facebook used to be, not so long ago, that if you posted something, all of your friends would see it, or all of your likes would see it. Now that's not true, and that's why you were saying that only 2% of your followers actually see it. So if you put something out, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to see it. Another thing that we do, and I'm sure you guys do too, is we boost our posts occasionally. In other words, we pay to increase the audience, and it's pretty cost effective. I think for around $500 you can reach 25,000 people, and you can specify the kinds of demographics that you're interested in.
To touch upon the Facebook point that you made, the Facebook algorithm is just like Google's algorithm, constantly changing, and like no one can really peg down exactly what it is, but there's a lot of theories around it. So I think it's important, like reach is obviously important. You're not going to accomplish much if you only have 100 followers versus 1,000. So we're always trying to grow our reach for sure and increase our followers. But the engagement is crucial for helping the Facebook algorithm, and also now Twitter and Instagram as well work on similar algorithms, encouraging the algorithm to feed that content to other users. So the more people who interact with and like a post or comment on it, the more likely that network is to serve it to other people. So it's great when you have the budget when you can, but that's not always an option. So paying real close attention to just your impressions numbers, checking in to see like which types of content do best, and then trying to serve more content like that, so that when you do have to post something that maybe isn't as flashy as a really cool picture of a student, your users are more likely to be served that slightly less, exciting post, because they've already engaged with your more, sticky content, so to speak.
Another thing I might add to that, you just made me think of something, in terms of reach. At the press, we like authors and editors who are very active in social media. And often what will happen is we'll post something, and it'll be about a particular book, and that author or editor will then like it or retweet it, and those then tend to build up momentum and then get more and more views.
I just wanted, I don't want to forget to say this, but, and this goes back to Dory's workshop on Hootsuite and TweetDeck, but we used Hootsuite to actually grow our followers on Twitter for our Writers Conference Twitter page. So what we did is we created a keyword filter. So just to reiterate, this was for our brand new Writers Conference. So we set up a keyword filter, I believe it was writing, and then we would just, we would engage with other writers out there, and then we would naturally just get the following and the engagement. So we were able to increase both our following and engagement just simply by creating a keyword filter on Hootsuite.
Have you found, and it could be platform specific or across all platforms, that the timing of when you post whatever you post has impacted either positively or negatively the response you've gotten to it? And if it has, either positively or negatively, can you just share an example or two?
For us, we post generally before noon. Most of our constituency is in the United States. We find by looking at the analytics that period of time works the best for us. I surmise that it has something to do with that it's noon on the East Coast and 9 o'clock on the West Coast, but I'm not positive why that is, but that's definitely the sweet spot for us, and on weekdays.
So for us, I mentioned the Writers Conference program, but our primary program is the summer session. We get over 15,000 students here in the summer, and I believe we're the 4th largest summer session in the nation. So, we're mostly serving college students with this program. So for us, timing is critical. And as you all know, Snapchat is all about being in real time. So, you pretty much have 24 hours to act on something, and then after that, it's irrelevant. So for us, for our particular audience, timing is critical, and it's all about doing things immediately and in real time.
Yeah, for sure. I try to look at the analytics to see when our users are most active. We do pretty well with evening posts, so say anywhere between like 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night. I like to do like news coverage type stories at that time, maybe things that are a little bit more featurey than a hard sell, because when people are settling in for the evening, that kind of content tends to do very well in the evening. Weekends, lots of times people overlook weekend posting, because obviously if you're not constantly watching your streams, you don't want to necessarily post something when you're not going to be around to respond if there's a question. So I try to stick to, again, content where people are going to be more like congratulating someone on receiving a scholarship than something that might be a little bit controversial. But those things tend to do really well on nights and weekends. And just being mindful of when you're posting something, are you going to be able to respond to it if it's going to be something that draws in questions about an event or something like that.
We use the stories feature on Instagram too a lot. I don't know if anyone in the room uses that, but that's another one of those real-time features that students are most likely going to check. So we mostly use Instagram to post pictures of events. Instagram, as you know, it's all about the visual. It's about expressing creativity. So recently we raffled off some tickets at an event, and we posted a boomerang on Instagram just of the winners receiving the tickets, and they did a little dance. We got 447 likes off of this one Instagram post. But again, that just solidifies my point about doing things in real time, because I doubt that if it weren't relevant to the event at the moment and the timing, that probably wouldn't have been as popular as it was. Mm-hmm. We actually posted it at the event.
There's been some discussion during the day about within the libraries about collaborating with other social media managers within the libraries to grow your audience and spread your message. Do you guys have any experience collaborating with, I guess, either other university units with your social media accounts or other units within your particular departments? And if so, could you just elaborate a little bit on that?
We haven't really collaborated with anyone at the university, but I would like to. So hopefully that'll happen for us soon. The one thing I'd say is that the press is part of the AAUP, which is an Association of American University Presses, and it's a group of about 120 university presses across the United States. And the AAUP actually organizes some collaboration through social media, and most of the university presses participate. And there's a hashtag Read UP, Read Up, and that's pretty effective and seems to reach a lot of people. And so you tend to get people that you wouldn't normally reach because you are speaking to a larger audience.
So for us, we just do a lot of following up of other units and a lot of retweeting. But I find that if you yourself are looking to be retweeted, that again, it helps really to vary your messages and make it really relevant. That way you yourself can be retweeted. You want to provide as many opportunities as possible for other people to retweet you. And I just feel like that retweeting, that following of each other is probably the best way to collaborate and help grow each other's audiences.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps to be proactive too. So I manage like the core Rutgers _ Camden accounts, but there are a lot of other accounts for different units on our campus. So if there's something that I really feel we need to magnify among those other units, I just reach out to my counterparts in those areas and just say, hey, look, this is coming up. I mean, it's always helpful to tag a unit in a tweet if one of their faculty experts is mentioned in an article or something like that. But I find that it's generally more effective to actually reach out to the person, the social media manager. And this is true whether it's within our units or if you're trying to engage with an expert outside of Rutgers, if you're trying to interact with like a partner organization, rather than just mentioning them on Twitter. If you have that relationship there, if you can build that relationship to actually reach out to them, it tends to be a lot more effective with getting content shared. And then it opens up a two-way street too. So then sometimes some of those people might be like, hey, we have this program that really could use a little boost. Can you help us out? So it's kind of like a give and take situation once you open up the beyond just Twitter or Facebook when you're actually talking to the person by email or phone.
Great. We only have a few more minutes, so talk a little bit about metrics and assessing. So just one basic question. What metrics do you guys follow and pay attention to, and how do they help impact your messaging strategy?
Well, we use Insights for Facebook, and we use the Twitter analytics basically to look at how our performance is, what our engagement is. But that's pretty much it. That's it for us.
We also use the native insights within each platform. We also use Google. Google Analytics has a social media referral area that you can go in and see like how many how much of your website traffic was from a specific platform. So that's very useful. We've also used Simply Measured for Instagram. And then finally, we just survey students.
I use a lot of the native analytics tools as well. I really like to look at impressions, or top posts by reach, because that's a good way to judge if people have been interacting with that kind of post. Like, what about that post can I learn from to start applying to other messaging. I also use Google Analytics. I do, in addition to the social referrals, I create campaigns. I don't know if any of you are familiar with campaign tagging in Google Analytics. Basically what it is, it takes a little bit of extra legwork, but I have different campaigns that I run for, like for admissions, for certain academic units, and every link that I send out on social has a little bit of extra code at the end. Yeah, the UTM strings. Yeah,
it's very helpful.
Yes, so because that way you can tell, is this one particular student profile doing better than another student profile? It's just a really helpful way, and like, where is it doing the best? So like, you're not just getting your traffic, you're getting, this Facebook post did really well, but this Twitter post did better for this piece of content. So it's a little bit of extra work, but you get a lot of really rich data that you can then use to inform how you're going to continue with your strategy.
To add to that, there's also something called link tracking. So you can actually add additional tracking codes to various places on your websites. And then, so not only can you see like where the traffic is coming from, but you can see conversion. So you can see what goals they hit and what your conversion rate was based on your campaign, your specific campaign.
Great. Thanks, guys. Brice has offered to do a short demonstration of the relationship between the RUL, our Rutgers Press website, email and social media accounts.
Yeah. I just, if James, if you can turn that on, I'll show the audience. Okay, great. So, mainly what I wanted to point out here is that Hello?
There you go.
There you go. Try that one.
Hello? Hello? Okay. So, basically, what I wanted to show here is just the relationship of our website to our email program and to our social media. So we recently redid our website, and this is what it looks like here. And essentially, we had a few goals for our new website. One was that it be responsive, which means that it works on every platform, whether it's a mobile phone or a desktop. We wanted to be able to sell ebooks directly, which we hadn't been able to do before. And we wanted to hook into social media in a much bigger way on the website. So the first thing I'll show you is that, we go to a lot of academic conferences, sociology, criminology, Jewish studies, women's studies, etc. So prior to us attending that conference and exhibiting at the conference, we send out an email to our email list, basically, which looks like this. This is for a conference coming up in Montreal in August, and so we highlight some of our featured more recent books, and basically we let people know that we're going to be at the conference and we're inviting them to visit us, but also if they aren't attending, there's an opportunity to purchase books at a 30% discount with free shipping. So we try to reach those people through email, but at the same time, we're sending out social media that usually in Twitter and Facebook, and here you see on our homepage is a feed from Twitter, and you see it has a similar graphic and a similar message. and then there's a link through to a page on our website that has the same information essentially, where they can get a discount and we'll be at this conference. And the other thing I just wanted to show is that we have social media very prominent on our site now, something we didn't have before, but so that is just another way to try to leverage social media for your benefit. One other thing I was going to mention is everyone who's here is eligible for a 40% discount off of all of our books with free shipping, and you need a discount code, and it is 02 Rutgers. So if you're interested in any of our books or your friends, you can get a 40% discount with free shipping.
Now that's how you grow an audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
So we'll take any questions for our panelists. Does anybody have any questions?
This is specifically for Jen. Since you've had some success using Snapchat, can you give us any ideas of how an organization might use Snapchat? Like, I've heard about these mysterious channels, and I don't know. I mean, is that a thing on Snapchat? I feel like it's still so new to me. I don't know how we would leverage it.
Channels on Snapchat?
Someone told me something about channels. I don't know. Maybe, or can you give me an idea of, like, what you do on Snapchat to engage users?
Okay. So we actually ran first off, who is your audience? Who primarily is your audience?
It would be med students.
Med students.
Okay. So we ran an 8-week contest where this is going back. I've been at summer session for over 10 years now. When I first got there, we had all these freebies. We had free pens and whatnot that we would give away, and we would just give them out. We would just randomly give those prizes out. So when I took over the marketing and the social media, I said, well, why not, make them do something first? So we actually we turned that into a contest, and it's a 4-step contest where each step was over the span of 2 weeks, and we also integrated this with our tabling events. So we go around to different student centers and we we rotate it and we have tables at student centers where we would actually bring the giveaways with us. So we would promote the contest, promote it, and then we said, okay, now is the time. We're at Livingston Student Center. Come out now. You have to do such and such, right? And then you can earn this pen or whatever the prize is. So then each level built up to like a grand prize. And at the very end of the contest, we gave away 1 free seat for the summer session. So we got thousands of people involved in this 8-week contest. So that's kind of that was the strategy we took. Now that we're not in our marketing, we're in the middle of summer session. Actually, we're close to the end of summer session now. So we're not doing a lot of promoting of the summer session. So, during our off season of not promoting, we do a lot of events, like summer session offers free activities for our students. So we use it primarily just to cover our various events. So, that's how it worked for us. I'm not sure how you can apply that to med students, but sometimes it helps just to take a look at what you're already doing, and then try to apply that, to your social media strategy.
I use Snapchat a lot for events as well. It's also a great way to grow your followers because lots of times Snapchat it's not like Twitter where you can just easily search for a handle and find a person. You have to know the exact name or you have to have the snap code. So I found one of the best ways to grow followers on Snapchat is to go around to like homecoming or Rutgers Day, and just, engage with the students, have them, if they're doing something that's kind of fun or silly, like ask them, do you mind if I just do a quick snap of you here, and then I'll flip it around and show them the snap code so that they can follow it, and then, they want to screen grab it and send it to their friends, grow a lot of followers that way. But it's also good for asking students to share. So like one of the things I'm working on right now is having them share pictures of when they're bringing like the Rutgers hat with them to the beach or something like that. Just having them send us a snap, here I am at this really cool suspension bridge in Canada I just posted the other day. And then you can also, if the student gives permission, you can share that in other social networks. So that did really well on also Instagram because it's visual driven. So just finding ways to just show it, since it's more of an informal network, I find it works really well to just, show your pride, show your Scarlet pride on Snapchat. And these students love seeing pictures of themselves online. So it's always a good way to do that.
Anyone else have any questions? At our remote locations, are there any questions? Oh.
Can we hear them?
No, no questions. All right. So, well, thanks, Brice, Jen, and Stefanie. We really appreciate you guys coming out.
Sure.
A little round of applause. And we have no prizes for you. But this was prize enough. All right. Oh, Matt does have a prize for you. How about that? So, just very quickly, I know we're pushing up against 3 o'clock here. So I just want to go back over the list we generated this morning. James probably wants me over here. And just to see if, if we touched upon this stuff, and if you'd like additional information about it, then we can push that out to you after the conference. So, assessment. Who asked the assessment question? Stefanie. Did you get some information about his assessment today that was helpful? That was at the round tables here, or Hootsuite, or? Okay, great. Alrighty, then we had promoting the libraries creatively. I think the table we were at, Sarah talked a little bit about that. Who asked that question or wanted to hear more about that? Did you feel you got some information? Great. Research and scholarly communication, I guess using social media to boost that. I know Janet led a session about that. Did you guys find that helpful? Again, was there any useful information that you were able to take away from that? I'm going to ask the same question about every bullet point, so you might as well get used to it.
So actually, I wanted to just make a point. We took notes out there from each round tables, and we didn't have time to go over them. We were hoping to have a short little time to do that. I'm thinking that what we'll do is probably write those up and circulate them so that because I didn't even see it in the round tables. The format was such that we didn't all need to get it. So we'll circulate some of those
Okay.
maybe address some of these as well.
Okay. Creative campaign ideas. I think we actually heard some this afternoon. Audiences, faculty, donors, and public. I guess that was just talking about the different audiences that we have and how to reach them. And again, I think our panel touched upon that. Is it worth the effort, and how do we know? Well, I think that's just you're going to have to find out on your own when you actually do a campaign or start a new site and start monitoring your activity. I'll say this: there's a lot of effort involved to make it successful, but I get the feeling that if it is successful, it's pretty rewarding. But like anything else, you just have to put the effort into it. Resources for content, and I know again at the table I was at with Sarah, we talked a lot about that, and we've got some great ideas. What's exciting and new in context of social media, I assume? I don't know. For me, I thought the Hootsuite presentation was really good because I've heard of Hootsuite. I've never really seen it, and I think there's a lot of benefit to using that, especially if we can coordinate it across the library. So I found that to be exciting and new. Did anyone else find anything exciting and new they didn't know about? Yes.
I think anytime you get a group like Brennan together in the room and say, you get a 40%
I almost just want to end on that. How do we promote departments? Again, I think we talked a little bit about that at the roundtables. And what makes a good tweet? I don't know if we specifically talked about that, but does anyone have any insight to that? Or maybe you guys can. What makes a good tweet? It's the bonus question. Yes.
Mostly used for them just
To have fun. Keep it lighthearted.
One thing I would say that Twitter is great for us in that I mentioned these conferences that we go to, and every conference has a hashtag. So, and every organization, of course, has its Twitter address. So when we send out tweets about an event, we can reach that audience very successfully because there's a hashtag for the conference.
We were lucky because our writers' conference it worked out really well, and then we were so gracious because we had some followers that were saying some wonderful things about our conference on Twitter. So for us, I guess just being on there helped because people, I guess, created a buzz about our conference on Twitter.
So does anybody else have any questions or comments before we free you into the heat? Jess, do you have any final words you'd like to share?
I have just one last thing, which is, this is the boring part. I get through all the boring parts. We're going to be sending around an assessment for the conference. We really do appreciate your feedback. Please fill that out. It helped the comments we got last year really informed the program that we put together this year, and it will help us if we are lucky enough to get to do this again next year. So please fill out the assessment when you see that coming around. And I just generally, this was a phenomenal day, I think. I really enjoyed all the conversations I had. I appreciate everyone's willingness to participate, to offer up opinions, to perhaps tell us about their personal interactions on Facebook, all this stuff that kind of came out. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for making time to come out, and thank you so much to my co-chair, to the people in the Rutgers community who came out to support us. I really appreciate all of it. So I'm just feeling the love right now. So that's all. Thank you.